This is the Seraphim Gem Gypsy, SeraFae Indigo Empress, and Shiloh Horizon. I don't plan to be here for too long. I don't know how long this will take, but I do have some stuff to share. A reading. I think I also might finish my nails. We'll see. In the meantime, I heard this. Let's go through the music mediumship. Excuse me. Okay. I heard this one too. Somebody's upset. I feel that.
But you want it, then I'll put you in like. Everybody gets high sometimes, you know. What else can we do when we're feeling low? So take a deep breath and let it go. You shouldn't be drowning on your own. And if you feel you're sinking, I will jump right over into cold, cold water for you. And although time may take us into different places, I will still be patient with you. And I want you to know I won't let go. I'll be your lifeline tonight. I won't let go. I'll be your lifeline tonight. 'Cause we all get lost sometimes, you know. It's how we learn and how we grow. And I wanna lay with you till I'm old. You shouldn't be fighting on your own. And if you feel you're sinking, I will jump right over into cold, cold water for you. And all the time we take us into different places, I will still be patient with you. And I hope you know I won't let go. I'll be your lifeline tonight. I won't let go. I'll be your lifeline tonight. City feels working cold. I just wanna stay afloat. I'm all alone. Someone's gonna take me home. Somewhere I can rest my soul. Rest my soul. I need to know. And if you feel you're sinking, I will jump right over into cold, cold water for you. And all the time may take us into different places, I will still be patient with you. And I hope you know I'll be your lifeline tonight. I'll be your lifeline tonight. How is everybody? Doing well, I hope. Got a little lineup of some music mediumship. I will be doing a reading, and I also have some true crimes and stuff in the queue. We'll see where we go with that. In the meantime, let's do this one. Thanks.
Mac 1 and OG. Interesting. Kind of 420. This one is, it's funny, the last one I had was Mac. It's like Mac Alien something. This one is Martian Mints. I also like Shock Mints, it's called. I like the mint ones a lot. But this one's Martian Mints, like an alien. Is that what it is you said? Mac? It's Miracle Alien something. Miracle Alien Cookies, I think. Right? Is that what you're talking about? Mac 1? Or is it a different strain? I know what you're talking about if that's what it is. That's a good one as well. I had that last time. I forget. I think it's cookies.
You pull me out of the dark, away from my fears and the troubles I turn to dust. When you're holding me up, can you level that toward our metal with the idea of us? For a lifetime, I put the two of us together since the day we met, love. Look at the night sky, I'm thinking of you and that's my one confession. Please don't let go. Tie me down and promise that you'll never leave. Please don't let go, no. 'Cause I remember we were sitting in the car, smoking under the bridge. The look in your eyes, yeah, I knew right then that I want you for life. 'Cause I remember we were feeling so young, the riverside. Had Elvis on the radio until the sunrise. Ooh, and I want you for life. Take my heart, keep every last piece. I mean to do what you want to say. We're living this one, I must be dreaming. I waited decades and more for this to happen. I'm glad with the fact that it worked out exactly how I imagined. Yeah, I wish to wake up to you daily.
Can I tell you a fun cannabis fact? You know when people get the munchies? Sometimes it is hunger. So don't dismiss that. But sometimes when people are smoking, it's the same reason you get dry mouth. When you get the munchies, it's a weird fact, but a lot of times, again, for the same reason you get the dry mouth, if you do, you're actually thirsty, and for whatever reason, there is like a crossover, almost like a hiccup, a confusion in the brain where it doesn't register whether it's hunger or thirst. So it can show up as a hunger pang or a hunger cue when it's actually that you're thirsty. Again, needing hydration, similarly to why you would get dry mouth. It's actually thirst. So good for thought. Always reach for hydration first. Make sure you get enough electrolytes. Saline balance is important.
The trip has been so far, my daughter, you quite catching. Yeah, I must admit it, my feelings are quite definitive. I'll never give it up. 'Cause I remember we were sitting in the car, smoking under the bridge. The look in your eyes, yeah, I knew right then that I want you for life. 'Cause I remember we were feeling so young, in Riverside. Had Elvis on the radio until the sunrise.
I have a couple more nails to do still. I have to take 3 acrylics off. The rest of them are all real. I painted 4 of them. I had some stuff to do earlier. And it was intensive, and I needed some art therapy when I got home, so I painted first. Normally I wouldn't do that. but I kind of got the theme going. So I have 3 acrylics to soak off and then 8 to paint. Six to paint. However, hi, you found me again. Have a good night. For those of you leaving. I normally do this after I finish them all, but since I'm going to show you, let's show you. This is going to be bright, so watch your eyes. Okay. Spider. A sparkly spider web. Hearts and spiders. And then just a little sparkly spider web. And that one's an acrylic I need to soak off. But then there's this one. I like this one. Little spider web sparkles. And then there's this one. Not to make you seasick, but see if I can get it better. There it is. Little spider in the web. A blue spider. Tony Sounds would be so proud. She like the spiders. The shape, the almond, you mean the pointed? I like those too. I always do those. On me anyway. I don't do them on everybody else. I wouldn't recommend them on everybody else for a couple of reasons. Somebody says, why? Because no. Some people's fingernail beds are not a good fit for that. Some people don't like the shape. And then also, if you're not careful, you can hurt yourself. So you have to be mindful. And also learn how to work with them. It took me a minute, a week, maybe a couple of weeks to get used to having long nails after not having them for years. They're all natural, but I bit them for so long. Except for the acrylic, but I only have acrylic on the ones that broke just so that I don't have to cut them all short. I just lengthen the ones that broke short. It's fine. Temporary. Till they grow out and then I stop using the acrylic again. But I like the acrylic. It's fun. Somebody says, why? Because all of the acrylic that I use is sparkly. There's glitter in it. And I like that. It's the fairy in me. She likes shiny things. Like angel wings and the spirit of babies. And the sweetest of kids' purest and most innocent ways. Oh, somebody's mad. Why are you so mad? Sounds like a personal problem to me, not mine.
Love like this make you wanna fall, make you wanna risk it all for love like this. Even when it hurts, every part of this is worth it. I know.
No.
I'm changing, I'm turning into someone I love. So if you're around,
You're in a great mood? Good.
I'm ready now. I'll set the table, you pour the wine. Lord knows your hands steadier than mine. If I seem anxious, I am all the time. It's not you, it's all in my mind. I don't know how you're so patient, how you're so kind. If I were you, would have left me behind. Your belief in me echoes when I look in your eyes. Got me thinking it's worth one more try. Every time that I'm with you, I heal a part of myself I didn't know I was broken, until I started asking for help.
Hi, beans in my eyeballs.
And if you're around, I'm ready now. I'll set the table, you pour the wine. Lord knows your hands steadier than mine. If I seem anxious, I am all the time. It's not you, it's all in my mind. I don't know how you're so patient, how you're so kind. If I were you, would have left me behind. Your belief in me echoes when I look in your eyes. Got me thinking it's worth one more try. Love like this, even when it hurts, every part of this is worth it. I know I'm changing, I'm turning into someone I love. I'll set the table, you pour the wine. Lord knows your hands steadier than mine. If I seem anxious, I am all the time. It's not you, it's all in my mind. I don't know how you're so patient, how you're so kind. If I were you, would have left me behind. Your belief in me echoes when I look in your eyes.
You're good.
Got me thinking it's worth one more try.
It is pretty soft. As far as what goes, as far as like history, my interest in history, do I prefer the Greek? What did you say? It is very pretty, this also, yeah. German medieval Roman Empire. Wait, what? The German? There's a distinction? I'm a little confused. Hold on. Greek, I know about the Greek and Greco-Roman stuff. And lots of history there. Hello. I don't know if I'm familiar with the second one, and if I am, I didn't realize it was called that or referenced in that particular like subcategory. So please pardon me. I'm very well aware of the Byzantine Empire, Holy Roman Empire, Germination. Okay. So it was the prior Roman Empire. And dissolved in the Napoleonic era. That makes more sense. Germany, Italy, Burgundy. I'm very familiar with the Burgundian War as well. That went through France. That was Joan of Arc Empire. And the Napoleonic Empire came after Joan of Arc, about like 400, might be 500 years between them. And you know what's interesting? French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte, who married Empress Josephine, he was kind of, not in a bad way, but he was a little bit infatuated with the history of Joan of Arc. He also, it was said to have pushed for her canonization. She was canonized as a saint, actually. After being crucified and persecuted. For being a medium at that. I may actually know more about this history than I realized. I just didn't realize it was called that time period. I don't know. Honestly, I really don't know. If you're asking me from like a historical perspective, like which timeline in history do you prefer to hear about or study? Or I'm like, I don't really know. I think a lot of it's interesting. I find a few particular time periods quite interesting, but I do filter between them. I just like to, I call it nerding out. I like to learn. I watch a lot of documentaries, or I listen, especially while I'm multitasking or I'm cleaning. Often I'll have something like that on. Do I have an OnlyFans? No. Are you asking me? But if anybody ever sees an account or anything that says it's from me on a site like that, please let me know. Send me the information. You can email it to me. It's always linked in my YouTube, underneath my videos in the description boxes, especially the live feeds specifically. But it should be up there. And I say this because I did have a viewer come through and say that there was apparently a website made, somebody claiming to be me. It's not. It wasn't OnlyFans, it was a different one. But they were listing some of my information, but it's not me. And the police and the detectives and the higher authorities know about it. Please make a grilled cheese. You mean like an actual grilled cheese? I'm not going to waste food right now. At all. That's disrespectful. Just to do in general, I think. I'm not doing that. But are you asking to see me cook? I was planning on doing a bit of cooking too, but I thought I'd do it off screen tonight. I don't know. Maybe not. We'll see. I don't really want to do that right now. Just let me flow it out. Let's play some music and hang. Hope everybody's good. Let's do this one. I heard this earlier. Oops.
Isn't the best place to find the lovers, so the bar is where I go. Me and my friends sat at the table doing shots, tripping fast, and then we talk slow. Come over and start up a conversation with just me, and trust me, I'll give it a chance. Now take my hand, stop, and the man on the jukebox, and then we start to dance. And now I'm singing like, girl, you know I want your love. Your love was handmade for somebody like me. Come on now, follow my lead. I may be crazy, don't mind me. Say, boy, let's not talk too much. Grab on my waist and put that body on me. Come on now, follow my lead. Come on now, follow my lead. I'm in love with the shape of you. We push and pull like a magnet do. Although my heart is falling too. I'm in love with your body. And last night you were in my room. And now my bedsheets smell like you. Every day discovering something brand new. Well, I'm in love with your body. 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 Every day discovering something brand new. I'm in love with the shape of you. We let the story begin. We're going out on our first date. With you and me.
All right. Let's do. I heard this one too. It's a good one. Speaking of.
All I need is just a minute, I'ma tell you how I'm feeling, yeah. Swear that I could sit there with you all night. I could see it catching feelings from the mirrors on the ceiling. And I'm liking what I'm seeing, Hold the phone, I'll be right back, I'll be right back. When I'm done with the Skype sex, I know you like that. When you text me, I'm right back, I'm talking right back. Weed and liquor on my nightstand, but please don't mind that, no. Cause I smoke, I drink, you too, okay. If I'm gone in the morning, no problem, just stay. And it goes both ways, those games we play. First we're hot, then we're cold, say we're gone, but we stay. And you ain't the type of chick that want attention. I could give you more than you're expecting. And we ain't got the time to second guess it. Yeah, I could fuck you right and be the best friend. All I need is just a minute, I'ma tell you how I'm feeling. Yeah, I swear that I could sit there with you all night. I just see it catching feelings from the mirrors on the ceiling. And I'm liking what I'm seeing. All I need is just a minute, I'ma tell you how I'm feeling. Yeah, I swear that I could sit there with you all night. I can see it catching feelings from the mirrors on the ceiling. And I'm liking what I'm seeing. Look, you know what the vibe is. You the one I vibe with. You the bomb.com when I log in. I showed you all my cards, yeah, I'm ballin'. Even though from time to time I'm petty like Tom is. Even though I know I suck the fight with. Always gotta find a way to win like Tom did. So So every time we argue, you call, I let it go for like
Hey,
5 rings. But you know I'ma always get the message.
You know
You're trying to hold me down and
what I'm giggling about? The fact that there was a bickerman about grilled cheese in the comments. That shit's hilarious.
I'm just making plans, don't get defensive. You know I'ma fuck you right and be your best friend. All I need is just a minute, I'ma tell you how I'm feeling. Yeah, I swear that I can sit there with you all night. I can see you catching feelings from the mirrors on the ceiling. Yeah, I can't what I'm saying. Oh, yeah. All I need is just a minute, I'ma tell you how I'm feeling. Yeah, I swear that I can sit there with you all night. I can see you catching feelings from the mirrors on the ceiling. Yeah, I can't what I'm saying. Oh. Bottom line when I'm on top of you, I don't think I've had a better view. You know I ain't like this other dude. I'm on the wave and you can ride it too. You a real one.
Ew.
I had to fake it. Never closed off even when I had you naked. You a shot in the dark, but I had to take it. And I made it, yeah. All I need is just a minute, I'ma tell you how I'm feeling. Yeah, I swear that I can sit there with you all night. I can see you catching feelings from the mirrors on the ceiling. And I'm liking what I'm seeing. All I need is just a minute, I'ma tell you how I'm feeling. Yeah, I swear that I can sit there with you all night.
Okay. Let's do Yikes. I hear Slave by Mainskin. I like that one. It's a good one. Oh, somebody's so angry. This was a request. I got this a little while ago, and I did take it. Took me a second to get to it. But I did listen. That person asked nicely. Neutrally. Not like weird grilled cheese dude. I don't like to be told what to do. It's the fire sign in me. When you try to tell an Aries what to do, usually you won't get a good result. No, you won't.
Never made it as a wise man. I couldn't cut it as a poor man stealing. Tired of living like a blind man. I'm sick aside without a sense of feeling. And this is how you remind me.
Somebody said, I thought you were a Gemini. Oh, I'm a Gemini. I'm also Aries. I have Aries in my chart. And in my trine. But you have to understand natal charts to understand this. The trine is like the three most predominant aspects of the chart and the personality, mainly. When somebody asks, what's your sign? They're asking for your sun sign. But there's also your rising sign and then your moon sign in that trine. And then beyond that, there's your Venus and your Mercury and your Pluto and your Chiron. You've got your north nodes and your south nodes. You've all got, somebody doesn't like this truth, you have all kinds of things in there, and all of those things play a part. So it's much more complex than the sun sign. Somebody could be a sun sign, right? If they could be, let's say that they're a Cancer. But if they have other stuff in their chart, they might be embodying other aspects of the zodiac that don't typically fit into normal, standard, like Cancerian personality traits. But if you knew that they were also carrying those other zodiac signs in their chart and you understood those particular zodiac signs, you'd be able to make a lot more sense of their behavior or their personality type in those ways that don't traditionally fit, let's say, again, a Cancerian sun sign or whatever it is. I hear coyotes howling off in the distance. Way off. So, yeah, it goes much deeper than that. But either way, I don't like bullies and I don't like to be told what to do. Oh, and I don't like manipulators or gaslighters. That's also the Virgo in me. I'm a Virgo too. Wifey of the zodiac, but I will not deal with your bullshit. We'll use those hermit crab claws and cut you right off. Somebody says Virgo's a hermit crab. Yes, Virgo is also the hermit in the tarot. You know. Alright, I can do it. It's a little bit heavy. Not even like the song. The song's not like pretty mild, but just the energy, that's not where I'm aiming right now. More like this. You relax, I'll feed you later. Chill out. Love you, but shush, please. Thank you. She's quiet. It always works. Just have to communicate. Somebody says, why? I think because it's kind of like a trauma response for me. Like sometimes I don't. I'll forget to eat.
When we're needed most.
Like as a trauma response. Oops. I just don't feel it. It's a disconnect. It's like dissociation. Normally, if you're hungry, you feel it in your stomach, but if you're like dissociating from your body, it's like causes a weird disconnect, at least for me. And so sometimes I just don't feel an appetite, and you'll hear, or I'll like feel my stomach turning, but I don't actually pick up that cue, that hunger pang, or the cue. Like I don't feel it. And so I think that when like my brain won't communicate properly in regards to the hunger cues, when I do, for some reason it just suffices. I don't know why. It's like I act as an intermediary and it just chills out. I don't know. Self-control works for me. Every time that I've tried it, it's never been a problem. I can show you my dreams.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3.
Oh, and that started as a joke, by the way. And then over time I realized that every time I did it, it worked. So I'm like, all right, well, here we go. Guess now I have a party trick. I heard that. Yeah. If you want to, I can show you what my dreams are made of. As I'm dreaming of your face. I have a lot of those actually. I've been away for a long time, such a long time, and I miss you there. I can't imagine being anywhere else. I can't imagine being anywhere else but here. How the hell did you ever pick me? Honestly, cause I could sing you a song, but I don't think words can express your beauty. It's singing to me. How the hell do we end up like this?
asleep. I lay in my bed awake at night. And I'm falling in love. You're falling like you need everything, everything to me. Ooh, this could mean everything to me. They say that love is forever. You're forever is all that I need. Please stay as long as you need. Keep on.
Okay, that song was called, it's the acoustic version of Sleeping with Sirens, James Dean and Audrey Hepburn. I also heard this one. It's actually really cute. This is a throwback. This is just like high school. No.
Baby, I love you, I never want to let you go. The more I think about, the more I want to let you know that everything you do is super fucking cute and I can't stand it. I've been searching for a girl that's just like you, 'cause I know that your heart is true. Everything you do is super duper cute and I can't stand that. Let's sell all our shit and run away to sail the ocean blue. Then you'll know that my heart is true. Yeah, baby, I love you. I never want to let you go. The more I think about, the more I want to let you know that everything you do is super duper cute and I can't stand that. You got me where you want me, 'cause I'll
You Can I pull some cards for you? You might have the gift of crystal scrying, crystal seeing. What you're doing is it's a spiritual gift, typically speaking. I actually have a deck right in front of me that's perfect for that. It's specifically for that. My angels told me to pull it out and leave it out yesterday or the day before. Cool. Hold on. Can I get some 1022? Oh, it sounds like it's struggling a little bit. Peacemaker. Psychocartography. It's about a globe. Hold on. Animal communication came out too. Did you say something about animals the other day too? Psychic healing. She has a cup of tea in her hand, but guess what it looks like to me at first glance? Like a crystal ball, right? Creativity, pendulum, shamanism, yeah, see that goes into that too. Oh, and guess what just popped out? Scrying. Told you. You have the gift of crystal ball scrying. See? You're being called to explore looking into a reflective surface to tune into the messages of the spirits and the universe. That's a gift you have. What did you say? Electricity? Leona picked up, I think she said something about like lightning storms in Vegas too. That also ties to Archangel Uriel. Just got a flash of somebody just asked me about the Greek mythology too. I think that's Zeus, right? Or like Roman, Greco-Roman. Wow, I just split the deck in a couple spots, but look at the first one. Crystal healing. And then crystal ball scrying. What's here? What's behind it? This one is, hold on. It's face down. Spiritual writer. Yeah, see? And then the way you wrote down what you were like seeing. I would jot this down in a journal, actually, if I were you. So we'll go here, charm casting. Nerd. Yeah, that's not an insult. If you were trying to insult me. Feng Shui. Clear empathy. Remote viewing. Chakra work that goes into shamanism and like being able to see. You have the gift of sight on levels. The ability to tap into, it could be spirit totems even if it's not like working with animals directly. It's like figuring out a spirit totem. Anything else? Psychocartography. That has to do with maps, travel. By reading about the land, you can receive and understand the messages of the land. You're being called to explore connections to places through the land, ley lines, meridians, latitudinal and longitudinal matrices. I'm picking something up about past lives too, like there may be a past life tie here, or like maybe it was like a dream, or you got like an intuitive download about something, and then you read about something catches your attention. I keep picking up something about Atlantis also. Interesting. And suddenly whatever you're reading about kind of clicks with whatever you either dreamt about or you're like the intuitive hit that you got, it just kind of syncs up. I would call it confirmation to a download, really. An intuitive hit. Psychocartography just popped out again. Exactly. And then coaching came out, but that's one of the things I do. Manifestation coach just came out as well. Both of those I do. And so I think that's just indicative of just needing somebody to tell you, hey, like, do you know what you're doing, first of all? That's what that was. And two, it's okay to honor that. In fact, I think that that's a pretty special gift. I don't see that very commonly. With a pocket full of the gypsy stuff. I just looked up something about the Greco-Roman stuff, and Italy came up too. Italy and then Burgundy, right? Just talking about that. It's wildly interesting. The globe kind of looks like you're kind of looks like your cover photo, like the eye, the center of the eye, or the iris of the eye. You know what I see when I look at this? I see a face. Hold on. A neck here. And then like a chin, lips that go in right here. And then the nose, eyes, forehead, like hair that goes back. And here. I see something that could be like, yeah, like a man or somebody holding a lightning bolt in their hand here, right? Lightning bolt. Or honestly, it could also be somebody with a knife in their hand. I could keep going, but I won't right now. So you picked up one. I picked up the second two. I did see what you saw though, so that's good. That's good. Let me confirm that for you, and just tell you to honor that because you saw one. Most people don't do that. They won't see anything. That's a gift. If you nurture it, you'll be able to just off the cuff pick up more like I did without even really looking. Honestly, I didn't even mean to. I wasn't looking that hard. It just kind of was hanging out, reading your comments, and I just looked at it for a second. It was pretty, and I started seeing images. No, I know what you did because I do it too. Yeah, that is the solar plexus. Wait, stomach here or stomach here or like both? Creativity came out, so I would say probably around here, up just above the belly button, maybe. Correct me if I'm wrong, please, and thank you. Yeah, that's what I thought. The reason I say that is because the creativity card came out, and the creativity center is the solar plexus, and the solar plexus sits just above the belly button. So it's a creative gift that you have, or I don't know if you like to somebody doesn't like this truth. I don't know if you like to do art or paint or draw or do anything like that, but you could, if you do like to do anything like that, you could use that gift as a way to like get inspiration for your art. Like if you were to be able to look at something like that, that one's called crystal balls, gazing or scrying, and then and I get the idea to paint a dude with a lightning bolt or whatever. You could use that has a gift. Also, writing came out. You might have the gift of automatic writing too. I bet you do. And so it activates your gift of sight when you're tapping into this. Somebody's upset about this truth. But then if you were to go and like, or even like write a story, I don't know if you like to write, but if you were to write or like draw out whatever it is that you were seeing, or even just like a sketch and get an idea down, you may have spirits, or like I work with the holy angels, but channel through you to help you do that. That would not surprise me. You could read without being taught. You like just figured out how to, like a savant. Yeah, that is not common, but it does happen. People thought Albert Einstein was an idiot. Actually, like they genuinely thought he was mentally retarded. I mean, he did marry his cousin. But wait, hear me out on this. Not that I condone this. Don't do that. Don't marry your family. Okay. We know better, do better. However, they thought he was mentally retarded because he just didn't speak for so long. They thought he was stupid and he couldn't. Or challenged and he couldn't. He wasn't. When he did start speaking, he started speaking like full sentences, I think. And I think is it autistic children sometimes do that? Some kids do that. Like they'll go years without speaking or speaking very minimally, and like one day they'll just start speaking full sentences, showing that they were picking up what they were hearing and they were learning the whole time. They just weren't. They chose to be quiet. They watched, they observed, they were listening and taking it all in. When they finally were ready to speak, they strung it all together. Somebody says, "No, I want to hear this thing about Einstein." Okay, so he was. Was it autistic? I think he might have been autistic. And if he was, if I recall, then somebody said, yeah, sometimes they have like social cue barrier struggles, boundary issues, right? And so, and they also go towards things often that are like comfortable and familiar towards them, right? So if he was, it would make sense as to why he was so genius brilliant, but like didn't speak for so long. And when he did, it was outright. And also why he might marry his cousin, despite his brilliance. All of that would fit into autism, would it not? Sounds like autism to me. So that's my thought on that. But they put mercury in Tylenol? No way. That's wild. No, it doesn't have to be autism. I'm not saying you're autistic. And there's nothing wrong with that, even if you were. There are people who are very high functioning autism anyway. But just as an example of the possibilities in the world, Einstein was brilliant. Just a side note about his cousin. Like, he did marry his cousin, which I don't think was a very smart thing to do. But he was a genius. And then also, remember, if he was autistic, like, that would make him marrying his cousin make a lot more sense, despite his intellect. And I'm not saying that you're autistic, but you also didn't marry your cousin, right? So, full out separate topic. That was just a side. That was just a fun side adventure. It's the information station. Just fun facts with them, Jim. I don't know. But yeah, that's my theory on Einstein. That's what I thought, right? See? There it is. Told you. He was never formally diagnosed with autism, Einstein, but only because the concept of autism in its modern understanding, like, it wasn't recognized when he was alive. They didn't know that autism existed when Einstein was alive, so he couldn't have been diagnosed with it because it hadn't been discovered. Whatever you want to call that. However, many experts, it says in biographers, have observed his traits and in his behavior, such as delayed speech development, social difficulties, intense focus on specific interests, especially like smart, like classified nerdy things, preference for routines, and he got really strict with his wife too, really angry with her, and told her, like, don't talk to me unless I talk to you, or unless I come to you. It was very strange. Like, he was very rigid with himself and his time. So preference for routines that are all consistent with characteristics of high-functioning autism or Asperger's syndrome, which is like a form of high-functioning autism. But the thing with Asperger's is that they typically do one of a couple of things. They lie, right? They embellish on stories to the point, or they leave things out. They either make things up and add things into a story that didn't happen, or they leave things out that did happen. But they're key pieces, right, that like full out change a story. And in some cases, they really believe what they're saying. They're not being honest. But they're smart. So, yeah, no, he wasn't formally diagnosed because autism didn't exist when he was alive, but it does seem like he was autistic. And again, that would make sense as to why he would lack the social cues to be so smart in all other areas, but then do something so dumb as to marry his cousin. And the most blunt and respectful, but holy crap, I can't even believe that he actually did that kind of way. Genius. But that was not a good social choice. And that is indicative of autism. Often. I'm not judging. I am observing. And so did scientists and doctors. So somebody thinks I'm being rude. No, I'm not. I dated a person in high school who had Asperger's, actually. And he put me through the ringer because he was dishonest and disloyal because he lacked proper social cues and loyalty as a result of that. The ability to stand on his own outside of a crowd in some cases. People pleasing. Thinking he's cool when he's not. Seeking attention. People pleasing. But in very large part being very dishonest and deceptive. To the point where now he's like 40 years old, and a couple of years ago, last I heard, he was talking to somebody who had parental controls on their phone, meaning he was too old and they were way too young. I think the reason he thought that that was okay is because he was 21 when I met him, but I was like a freshman in high school. Right, and so he got way older, but he was still doing the same toxic patterns. They like the routine, right? Here's a fun story. One time, he sat in a car with my mother and I and told a story about a lobster pound around here. A lobster pound that my sister's father, we have different fathers, my sister's father, his side of the family owns that. And this guy, I don't think he knew that. I don't know what was going through his head. But he tried to tell my family, my mom and I, that he designed the lobster tanks in that place. No, he didn't. And we knew that because my mom used to be married to the dude whose family owns it. I used to call him Uncle, the guy who built it. And so, would you call it an embellishment? What about that story was true? Or just a straight out lie? But again, lacking social cues, like he thought it was okay. Like, we all knew he was lying. I'm like, what the fuck? But he either didn't know he was lying or he didn't think we did. Somebody says also, why would you lie about something so stupid? I know that's my point, but like, that's Asperger's. At least in his case. Ick. The ick. Not because of the autism, just him as a person.
You have my heart, we'll never be worlds apart. Maybe in magazines, but you still be my star. Maybe 'cause in the dark, you can't see shining cars, and that's when you need me there. And you always change.
story. I know it's wild, isn't it? I don't talk to people like that who do things like that. They get cut off or they don't get given a chance in the first place. But yeah, there gives some wild teachable moments. Just a heads up if you need an example. I'm not being rude. I'm just, it is what it is. I lived through it. I can speak on the experience. It wasn't a good one. I also have to be clear. I think that if somebody possibly with those disorders was getting the appropriate help or support that they needed, then like within a therapeutic spectrum or like a medicinal spectrum, something, you know, I think that maybe that wouldn't necessarily be the case. Like that they could manage themselves or their symptoms or whatever it was. But he doesn't get help. And nor does he want to. I kept asking his mom to get him some help years ago. She won't. So, not to be stigmatic towards all people with those disorders, I don't know. But I do have to say that he doesn't get help for his, and I think that contributes to it. So before we just write off all people with those disorders, just be mindful of that fact too, just to be fair and put everything on the table. Good. Those are not good. No, I wasn't comparing you to somebody who was autistic, and again, I wouldn't be judging even if you were, but I just figured since Einstein came up, it was a fun fact. I wasn't insulting you. Let's do this one.
I will wish I could paint our love. These moments in vibrant. You wordplay turns into gunplay, gunplay turns into pillow talk, turns into sweet dreams, turn into fucking in the morning. We talk street art, sarcasm, crass humor and high fashion. Peach color moon glistens, the plot thickens as we laugh off of shotguns and tongue kisses. Bubble bath, you for damn, and would you rather? A cold flame, the dull and no shame. Drug, sex, and Polaroid, pick a star in the sky, we could both say goodbye. I wish I could paint our love. These moments in vibrant. Wordplay turns into gunplay, turns into pillow talk, turns into sweet dreams, turn into fucking in the morning, fucking in the morning. I don't wanna wake you, I just wanna watch you sleep. It's the smell of your hair, and it's the way that we feel. And never felt comfortable. Hey, we back, yo, the sun's still out.
Ew. I don't know you're not talking about. Ew. To make sure the cats weren't actually behind me. Rude. You got it. You got him. No worries. But before I got offended, I figured I should just check and make sure there wasn't an actual cat. That would be fair. But no. That was weird. That was like incubus energy. I don't like that. Yuck. Ick.
Dang, where's the draw? Oh, my bad. Here it is.
was just thinking maybe we should take a break from the music. Excuse me, and go sit down and hang out and listen to some true crime and kind of unwind a little bit from this for now. I'm being called to just kind of park the brakes on everything else and just hold space. But this sounds like a vibe to me. I've been very busy. I've been pulling together some projects, so pardon the stacks of supplies behind me. Let's do this. You said something about Incel. I have 2 true crimes. I wasn't going to play this one, but I actually pulled this one up a few days ago and didn't watch it.
We're all doing well. So the case that
This is Daniel Kirsty with a K.
we're talking about today,
K-I-R.
the man, the perpetrator, is an evil monster. And this was a man named Scott Bayerla, and he was just the worst of the worst. He was arrogant, self-titled, misogynistic, racist, homophobic, thought that he was above every single person on the planet, and he also despised women. Scott was an incel through and through. He believed that it was his divine right to have sex with women, even if they didn't want to. He then created a YouTube channel to share all of his disgusting views. He created very extreme content. He went on rants.
Andrea Spizak, Melissa Harpst, Kelly Weeks, Jessica Truesdale. I feel a compulsion now to discuss an origins misogynism. When I see an interracial couple, I think one of 2 things. I'd like to talk a little bit about cops now.
And on top of all of this, he also wanted to be a music artist. And let's just say he's not very talented.
Get up to 60% off fall and Halloween during Michael's Fall Home from Spooky and Cook.
No. That was very rude, Ninja Ghost.
13, the struggle's broken now.
Possibly some of the worst music and the worst voice I think I've ever heard. And the songs that he was creating, the lyrics were incredibly disturbing and chilling. And Scott soon unraveled. He couldn't take it anymore, and the consequences would be deadly. And that is what we are going to be talking about today, so let's jump in. And I just want to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, and that is June's Journey. And if you guys haven't started playing this game yet, then you need to go and check out June's Journey right now. Because in the game...
She's getting paid, right? But I don't want to hear about this game.
York, where he lived with his parents and 2 brothers. Now, growing up, Scott has what has been described as a pretty normal childhood. Nothing concerning, no red flags. He was a member of his local church, he delivered newspapers, very active boy in the Scouts, like it was just a normal, standard childhood. However, by the time we get to Scott in his teenage years, this is when everything starts to go downhill. Because Scott has been described as a very quiet boy, he was timid, he didn't socialize well with others, he struggled to make friends, and because of all of this, he was bullied in school. And according to Scott, it was mostly girls that would bully him. They bullied Scott about his appearance, about his weight. They would say that he was a loner with no friends. And Scott, understandably, became incredibly angry at this. He had a lot of rage inside of him that just continued to build and build, and he held on to this anger and rage for a very long time. And then at some point in the 8th grade, Scott has what he describes as the worst day of his life. Now, we don't know what happens on this day. All we know is that Scott did something and literally the entire school turned against him. And I truly mean that. The whole school from that day going forward, they hated Scott. And now Scott was getting bullied by everybody in the school. Scott was getting bullied by people he didn't even know. And I'm like, what did he do? Like, seriously, what did he do? And I've been trying to rack my brain. It's like, what could he have possibly have done to turn the whole school against him? It's just so weird, and I'm such a nosy person. I want to know what he did. But all students from all different grades were now bullying Scott. He became the laughing stock of the school. And later that day, Scott went home. He buried himself in his bed sheets, and he wrote a song about himself that was called Crying in the Dark. And unfortunately, remember Scott's music, because it does pop up now and again, and it's abysmal. I'm just going to warn you there. So after the incident at school, whatever it was, Scott was now bullied relentlessly, especially by the girls in his school. And this is when Scott realised that he pretty much hated every single female on the planet. He would later go on to say that this was the turning point. This was his origin story. This was the origin of when he basically became an incel, even though he didn't know what an incel was at that point. But those very dangerous misogynistic thoughts started here. So for the rest of high school, Scott now became a completely different person. He was now incredibly misogynistic towards the other girls in his school. He viewed them as worthless and below him. He essentially started to view girls as objects, in particular just sex objects. They were there to please him. It was when he started to think that as a man, it was his divine right to have sex with girls. And his views on sex were extremely warped. But then he took it a step further, because not only is he acting and saying very misogynistic things towards the other girls in his school, he also started touching them inappropriately, without their consent, of course. He would grab their backsides, he would comment about their breasts, he would actually stalk girls in his school. He would grope them and follow them around. And just to top everything off, he was also incredibly racist, and openly so. He was very open about the fact that one of his idols was Hitler. And I'm still just sat here thinking, what happened on that day? And then by the end of Scott's high school career, he also became a wannabe fantasy writer. And he started writing down all of these like short stories and stuff, and he actually wrote his very own novella. It was a 70,000 word, 81 page novella. And what was this fantasy fiction novella about? Well, it was about a schoolboy that was bullied relentlessly and turned into a serial killer. Wow. And the main character was this boy, who was Scott himself, by the way. He went on a killing spree, killing all of the girls essentially in his school, whilst still getting off on how good their bodies looked. And what is just so chilling is that the characters in the book, their names, the girls who were the victims, they were the real names of the girls from his school. And by the end of the book, the character Scott, he then turned the gun on himself. And that is very eerily similar to what goes on to happen in this case. And then after Scott graduates, he moves from his home state of New York all the way to California because he has dreams of becoming a famous writer. But he had zero success. He actually failed pretty much straight away. And someone like Scott, he is not willing to work hard or stick to something. So he moved back home. So he first gets a job at an insurance call center, and Scott was an absolute nightmare to work with. I mean, he was a nightmare to work with for everybody, but in particular the women that he worked with, because he would make incredibly sexist remarks and jokes towards them. Again, he was stalking the women that he would work with. He would just follow them around. He harassed them. One of the women that he actually worked with got a restraining order against him because he would stalk her and follow her to her gym. But
that was creepy.
alongside this job that he had, Scott also enrolled into a local college to get his college degree alongside his part-time job. And again, he was a nightmare to all of the female students that he was around. And it's just the same story everywhere he goes. He stalks women, he harasses them, he gropes them, he says very inappropriate things towards them, constantly making very sexist, inappropriate jokes. He would even wait outside the girls' bathroom just so he could look at the girls going in and out, and he would say things to the girls, catcall them. He is just the definition of a creep. He's the kind of guy that every single person avoids at all costs. He also continued on with his incredibly disturbing creative work. A lot of the creative things that he was writing were about sexually assaulting women and killing women as well. And a lot of the times, the victims of his stories would be people from his real life. He continued on with his terrible songwriting, and one of the songs that he actually wrote was called Stalker. So at least he's very self-aware, and in the song, the lyrics talk about a male worker who got fired because he was stalking a female co-worker, and then he killed all of his co-workers in retaliation.
The hell with the boss, I won't get off my back. The hell with the girl, I can't get in the sack. The hell with the good times, I can't get back. The hell with my life, I can't get on track. Fuck 'em all.
Again, very creepy, especially with what he goes on to do. And then on top of this, he wrote possibly one of his creepiest songs, which was titled Locked in My Basement, which described drugging and chaining a woman in a basement before torturing and sexually assaulting her because this woman rejected him. And I just can't with this man. I will play you some of this song, and I just apologize in advance because you can now never unhear this song.
So I slipped Eurohypno when the opportunity shone. Now she's locked in my basement. She'll never say a word. When she screams out in terror, she cannot be heard. Oh, one day I know that she will learn to love me, but even when she does, I cannot set her free.
What the fuck?
And unfortunately, throughout this video, Scott's music will crop up every now and again, so it won't be the only song I play for you, unfortunately. So then we move forward a couple of years. Scott has now finished his degree at college, and he does end up moving back in with his parents. And now he also starts to freak out his parents as well, because they find out about all of the creepy creative writing and all of the creepy songs. They were actually so creeped out by their own son that every single night when they went to sleep, they actually locked their bedroom door, which is just crazy. Imagine living in a house where you're actually scared of your child or just scared of someone, that you have to lock your door. Nobody should feel like that. But that was not the only thing that was very concerning to the family, because Scott also got kicked out of a few family birthday parties and just like get-togethers because he was incredibly inappropriate towards the children at these parties and also the women. There was one birthday party where Scott was actually inappropriately touching the children over their swimsuits. So I'm like, okay, so not only does he hate women, he also seems to have a little bit of an interest in children. So he's a paedophile as well. I just don't think you can get much worse than this man. Like, he literally is the worst of the worst. Scott also got into some more family drama when he went over to his brother's house because he found out that his brother's wife was asleep upstairs in her bedroom. So Scott went upstairs, he snuck into the bedroom, and he just stood over his sister-in-law and just stared at her when she was sleeping. Now, I'm sorry if that is not creepy, I don't know what is. Now, he clearly got caught. I don't know if the sister-in-law woke up and saw him stood over her, or maybe the brother caught him doing this. So Scott got into some drama there, and he was just through and through really creepy. He creeped everyone out. No one wanted to be around him. But then things got so bad that in 2002, when the DC sniper attacks were happening, Scott's family thought that Scott might be the DC sniper.
It was a terrifying situation for thousands of people. Gunmen in the neighborhood killing individuals in a methodical way.
A week ago tonight, the shooting spree began, and 7 days later, the callous killer may have claimed his 9th victim.
Because at the time of those attacks happening, Scott actually was living in the DC area, and Scott's parents especially, because of all of his creepy writing and all of his creepy songs and like the really, really graphic lyrics, they were worried that their son was the DC sniper. And they were about to contact the police to let the police know, hey, I think you need to look into our son. But just before they contacted the police, the DC snipers were actually caught, and it turned out that it wasn't Scott. But that tells you a lot, that his own family, his parents are that concerned about him, that worried, that creeped out by him, that they already think that he is capable of being the DC sniper, of carrying out attacks like that. Just...
Can you imagine? I don't know why, but I just got a flash of Jeffrey Dahmer. That was also a really fucked up story.
But then what does Scott do next? You are never going to believe what happens next. Because unbelievably, this creep of a man manages to get himself a job as a teacher in a school. And I just can't believe it. This incredibly creepy man who has a history of inappropriately touching children is now a teacher. And this was a school in Maryland. Scott is currently 26 years old, and he got a job as an English and social studies teacher. And of course, even though we know that Scott has a history of being very inappropriate towards women, towards girls and children, unfortunately, he doesn't actually have a criminal record. Because even though there have been so many times where he has been inappropriate, no one has ever reported him. So of course, background checks were carried out on Scott, but because he doesn't have a criminal record, he passed them all. And that is why it is important to report people. And of course, Scott as a teacher was the worst. He was incredibly inappropriate towards the female students that he had. And he basically just did the same thing that he always did. He stared at their bodies inappropriately. He made comments about their bodies. He objectified them, sexualized them, but no one reported him. It was kind of like one of those situations where you just kind of wanted to get away from him. And that's what people did. People just tried to avoid him. So because no one reported him, Scott managed to keep this job for 2 years. And this is when he takes it a step further. He was probably very emboldened by the fact that no one had reported him for his inappropriate comments and staring at all of these students. Because one day Scott just went up to one of his female students and he just started to grope her. He started touching her all over her body. He was inappropriately staring at her. He was probably also making comments as well. He was making her feel incredibly uncomfortable, of course. And then this is when Scott looked into her eyes and said, "You should wear more low-cut shirts. And also, you've got what it takes to make it in Playboy." I am not kidding you here. This is what Scott is saying to one of his female students. And this poor teenage girl, she immediately told her parents about what Scott had done. Scott was finally reported to the police. The police apparently investigated it, but nothing came out of that investigation. Nothing happened, and Scott was allowed to carry on teaching. He was allowed to carry on teaching for a whole nother year before he then got fired. And it's just so frustrating because Scott originally got this job as a teacher because no one reported him, because he didn't have a criminal record. But now the first person has come forward and reported him, and it still hasn't changed the situation. Still nothing gets done. And things carry on like this for a while. Obviously, Scott did get fired from his job as a teacher, and that was because they discovered that he was inappropriate towards his students. But then Scott just moves on to the next job, and he just continues to keep moving from job to job, making women feel incredibly uncomfortable. He even spends some time serving in the army. He actually relocates to Germany. But then he was promptly kicked out of the army after sexually assaulting 4 female officers. So yeah, that is what Scott is doing, and it amazes me that he keeps getting jobs. It's like, why is this not going on some sort of like permanent record? Because the reason why he gets fired from every single job, most of the time it's the same reason, that he's a creep. So Scott has failed once again, and now he is age 33. He moves back in with his parents. And this is when he has the bright idea that he wants to become a college student once again. However, the real reason why he wants to be a college student again was not to further his education. It was actually just to be around young women, because he wanted to creep all over them. So he enrolled into Florida State University in Tallahassee. Now, why did he choose this university university in particular? Well, it was because this university was the exact university that Ted Bundy carried out some of his horrific murders at. So yeah, another one of Scott's idols is Ted Bundy. He was in awe of Ted Bundy, and he was particularly in awe about the murders that Ted Bundy carried out at this university. So when Scott gets down to the university, he actually would regularly drive to the sorority house, the exact one where Ted Bundy carried out some of his murders, just so he could admire what Ted Bundy had done. And I feel like a broken record at this point, because now Scott is again at college and he's just the same. He stalks, harasses women, makes very inappropriate comments towards them. He would stare at them, make very misogynistic jokes and comments towards them. He did have some roommates, and he was also a nightmare to his roommates' girlfriends. He was extremely creepy to the girlfriends whenever they came over. He would strip down to his underwear and walk around, and he would make the girlfriends feel incredibly uncomfortable, whilst he also made very inappropriate comments about the girlfriends' bodies. And Scott's roommates were actually so concerned about Scott, and because they were aware that he idolized Ted Bundy, they...
Yeah, I would be alarmed too. Also, who picked those roommates? Were they put together by the school?
was exactly like Ted Bundy. He could become a Ted Bundy because he would just lurk around and he would stalk girls, and just his whole behavior. There was one time when Scott, he was just stalking Facebook. He came across a local woman and she had a picture on her Facebook of herself in a yoga pose, and he instantly became obsessed with her. He started sending her very sexualized, unwanted messages on Facebook. He would constantly tell her that he wanted her to become a stripper. There were actually multiple times when Scott was arrested on the college campus because he kept groping the female students' backsides around campus. So he's actually arrested multiple times for groping women. But then whenever he would be interviewed by the police, he would just say, it was an accident. He may have accidentally bumped into these women and they took it the wrong way. It was kind of one of those situations where it was his word against the victims, and unfortunately the police seemed to always believe Scott. They didn't really seem to ever take it seriously. So then in May of 2013, Scott is now 35 years old. He graduates from Florida State University with 2 master's degrees, but does he actually plan on using these degrees? Of course he doesn't. He was only there at university to be inappropriate towards women. Well, anyway, in the years following him graduating from university, he struggles to hold down a job, which, are we shocked? I mean, every single job that he gets fired because he's inappropriate, but he does stay in the Tallahassee area, and he constantly goes back to his old college campus, again, just to stalk and harass the young female students there. He would follow students back to their dorm rooms. Again, he was groping students. Scott was reported to the police many times. He was banned from the college campus, but Scott didn't care. He didn't listen to this, and he still went back to the campus. And it's like, what's the point? He has been banned from the campus, yet he's allowed to just continue going back there. It's like nobody is taking this seriously, and it really does just anger me. It doesn't shock me, but it really angers me because women are never taken seriously, and people just think, oh, what's the big deal? Like, he's sexually commenting on someone's body. Oh, get over it. Or he's catcalling somebody. Oh, he's touched you on the backside. No big deal. It's like, yes, it is a big deal, because it allows men like Scott to continue to get away with this kind of behavior, and it escalates. So Scott is now at the point in his life where he is just completely and utterly fed up. In Scott's mind, he was absolutely sick and tired of women and their entitled ways. And I'm like, wow, really? Pot kettle black. But in Scott's mind, he doesn't see it like that, does he? He thinks that he is God's gift to women. Like, why doesn't a woman want him? Why are women always rejecting him? Why won't they let Scott do whatever he wants to them? He never once looked at his own behavior and thought, maybe it's me. maybe women don't want to be around me because I'm the problem. No. He thought that women were the problem. And this is when Scott really did start to develop into the extreme incel that he goes on to become. Because obviously we know that Scott is incredibly misogynistic and he has been like this since a teenager. But now it starts to go into overdrive. We are now in 2014. Scott has actually just graduated from college again. It's like, why does he keep enrolling into college? I mean, obviously we know why, because he just wants to be around young women. But it was at this time in 2014 when he starts to dive deep into the incel community. He discovered the incel community for the very first time. And he started off by posting a load of his amazing songs. And of course, I was being sarcastic there. They are possibly some of the worst, no, they are the worst songs I have ever heard in my life.
I would take the National Geographic and paste the name on my wall.
Lots of these songs are, of course, very derogatory towards women. However, Scott really does think that he's like a creative genius with lyrics and just talent. Like, oh my God, is he delusional? He was so impressed with his own skills. He thought he was like the best songwriter ever, and his lyrics are terrible. They're not even very creative. And I don't know if he was intentionally singing off key, but he is.
13, the struggle's broken out.
But you can just tell, you can really just tell in his voice that he thinks that he sounds amazing. He would be one of those people that went on X Factor or Britain's Got Talent, America's Got Talent, whatever, that are just so delusional, like they start singing and it's literally nails on a chalkboard, but that person is adamant that they are like the best singer in the world. That would be Scott. And unfortunately, you can still find Scott's music online. There's actually a whole playlist of all of his songs, or at least a lot of his songs. You can find songs that are called Handful of Bare Ass, and then there's Tits Ahoy, and then there is also one that is called, quote, Flopping in the Breeze, where the lyrics really are just Scott talking about his own genitals. So yeah, that's a great song.
I like to walk around, hanging out. I like to serve this with sauerkraut. I use it for a night in ceremony. I use it to stir a bowl of macaroni. Drop it in the breeze, drop it all around. Drop it in your cleavage, drop it on your chest. Why are you offended? I'd like to be impressed.
He also wrote a punk song called Don't Shame, where he sings about going into an underage girl's locker room and, quote, going on an ass-grabbing rampage.
I will walk into the girl's locker room and I will not even blink. I will go and ask her to grab it and your girls to see how it affects them.
Web developers, stop wasting your time to...
Few of the songs because I could not listen to every single one, and I did not listen to the whole song either because I just could not put myself through that. But after just listening to some of the songs and some of the lyrics, I am just speechless. I just don't even know what to say. And I wouldn't recommend you go and find it unless you want to make your ears bleed. And then this is obviously 2014. Scott is diving into the incel community for the very first time. And what did he come across? Well, some of you that have been watching my videos for a while may remember that I covered a case that happened in 2014, and the perpetrator was a man named Elliot Rodger. And if you have watched my video on Elliot Rodger, you will know that he is one of the deadliest incels that there have ever been. In 2014, he killed 6 people at a college campus in California before turning the gun on himself and pulling the trigger. And why did Elliot Rodger commit such a horrific crime? Well, it was all in the name of incels. He did it to stand up for himself and for all men that felt like they had been unfairly rejected by women. And women were denying these men, unfairly so, of sex. And unfortunately, I can't believe this, but after Elliot Rodger committed horrific mass murder, he became a hero in the incel community. People really did lift him up and idolize him still to this very day. Elliot Rodger is idolized in the incel community. And I just cannot believe that people actually celebrate this vile, evil, delusional, disgusting man. But of course, our perpetrator from today's case, Scott, was one of the people that idolized Elliot. He admired Elliot for standing up for the greater good of men, for taking a stand, for taking out his anger on women, because women were unfairly denying Scott of sex as well. And I just cannot believe that those words are leaving my mouth. Like, how can anyone actually think like that? How can anyone actually think that they are entitled to have sex with somebody? But after the whole Elliot Rodger mass murder, Scott is so inspired by Elliot Rodger that he essentially becomes a YouTuber himself, because that is actually what Elliot Rodger was as well. He would post his rants on YouTube. Well, now Scott does the exact same thing.
The fact that you have to set traps and snakes sit and wait like pythons.
He creates his own YouTube channel with the channel name Carnifex so that he could carry on the legacy of Elliot Rodger. And over the next few months, Scott creates a number of videos, all of which were posted publicly, where he shared his absolutely disgusting and awful views about the world and especially women.
I feel a compulsion now to discuss and address the origins of my misogynism and the rebirth, and when it was reborn. Nobody emerges out of the womb one particular way. I would say the origins really derive in 8th grade. 8th grade home ec class. And I know there's a movie called Mean Girls, but that's girls being, I think, mean to other females. You've never, if you haven't seen the will that a group of females can generate when they target anyone, be it an adult male or a classmate or anyone. It's not just fellow classmates. It can be a grown man.
And these were your typical incel rants. He uploaded 17 videos altogether. You actually can still find some of these videos scattered around YouTube today. There is actually one video that is a compilation of most of Scott's videos that is over 2 hours long. And I did try and watch most of it, but again, I could not put myself through that because he just rambles on and on and on. He is so repetitive. And quite frankly, I don't want to listen to this man talk for any longer than I have to.
The one that really gets me is, why do you gotta be so rude? I'm gonna marry you anyway. Be a total bitch if you want to understand why females are as arrogant as they are in society today, young females. Not that this is the only reason.
But some of his YouTube videos are titled things like The Plight of the Adolescent Male, The Rebirth of Misogynism. He goes on racist rants as well, very derogatory rants.
When I see an interracial couple, I think one of two things.
He talks about people, quote, betraying their blood by dating people of other races. He also goes on a load of homophobic rants as well. He also goes on about the fact that he hates the police.
Just because we're not living doesn't mean
I don't hate the police, they're just like dirty cops. There are some good people out there. I know that. Hope you do too. The bad ones do tend to click together.
Cops now, and how much I hate them and why I hate them.
He basically just hates everyone apart from straight white men. But most of all, he spends the majority of his time complaining about women. He constantly refers to women as sluts, whores. He repeatedly talks about the fact that women have rejected him his entire life. He also says that he has been on a total number of 14 first dates, and not one of them has worked out.
And I said it to him at one point, I'd been on 14 different first dates with 14 different girls.
He spoke about his desperation to get a girlfriend and then to get married, and his desperation to have sex, but no one would go anywhere near him. And he totally blamed all of this, the fact that he didn't have this, on women. He was not responsible at all. He does not for 1 second think that he is the problem. He feels very, very sorry for himself. It very worries me. Like, oh, poor me. No one will have sex with me because I'm such a terrible person. He even starts ranting and raving about the girls from his high school. And it's like, are you being serious right now? In one video, he literally spends 10 minutes listing off all of the girls, who are obviously now women, who angered him back in the 8th grade. And he goes into specific little stories about each girl and how they angered him in some kind of way.
Andrea Spizak, Melissa Harpst, Kelly Weeks, I think one other, and one particular, they're the central antagonist, Jessica Truesdale. How do you respond? When they, for whatever reason, collaborate to make the decision to attempt to tear somebody down. Well, that's where it began. That was its origins. Into 9th grade, Jamie Farrell pulled a Chernobyl. If you're watching, you're just as... Lauren Leander was another one. Made one date. Didn't show. Not enough to take pen to paper and attempt to destroy me. The 4 that did are Lindsay Bly, Jennifer Abendroth, Heather King, and Leisha Gann. 4 cunts. I hope you're watching. I hope your treachery at its most vile.
And I just couldn't believe it. I was like, you're in your 30s. It's actually nearly 40 years old at this point. It's like, get over it. Why are you still so fixated on the girls from your high school when you were in high school? Why is he talking to a camera about high school drama? Literally, he needs to get over himself. And finally, and most chillingly of all, Scott made a YouTube video about Elliot Rodger and his mass murder. He said in this video, quote, "I have a duty, an obligation, a moral obligation to proceed and act just like he did." He also said that he would be producing a video series that would serve as his last will and testament, and that he would be gone after the 10th video was completed. He also gave a chilling warning that if he didn't have sex soon, then he was going to lash...
2 things. That won't necessarily stand up in court. Just because he put it in a video doesn't mean it's necessarily viable. I know it sounds weird, but in some cases, if the paperwork wasn't in place, like, that's all that matters. The video doesn't matter if he didn't do the paperwork before he died, depending. Secondarily, what was the other thing?
Of all, Scott made a YouTube video.
It seems like he's trying to take a page out of 13 Reasons. Kind of, you know? If you know, you know.
Elliot Rodger and his mass murder. He said in this video, quote, "I have a duty, an obligation, a moral obligation to proceed and act just like he did." He also said that he would be producing a video series that would serve as his last will and testament, and that he would be gone after the 10th video was completed. He also gave a chilling warning that if he didn't have sex soon, then he was going to lash out at women in the worst possible way. And things go on like this for a while. For most of this time, Scott is unemployed, and he mostly just lives off his military disability allowance that he got after he was discharged from the army, which is ridiculous because he was discharged from the army for sexually assaulting 4 female officers. So he should not be getting a penny. However, during this time, there was one incident when Scott showed up at a party and he had a gun. And he started waving this gun around. He started trying to intimidate women into going home with him. There was another occasion when Scott went up to a woman who was sunbathing by a pool, and he just went up to her, stood over her, said that she had a great butt, and asked if he could apply sunscreen on her butt, to which the woman said, no. But Scott was very angry that this woman said no, he couldn't touch her. So then he actually started angrily shaking and slapping this woman's backside whilst putting his face in it. Thankfully, Scott was arrested for this. He was charged with battery, but then the charges were ultimately dropped, which is just the same throughout this case. Whenever Scott does come into contact with the police, nothing ever comes of it. It is so frustrating. And it's just so frustrating that he still does not have one single conviction, which means that he does not have a criminal record. And it's like, what the actual hell? He has groped, assaulted multiple women. He is showing up with guns at parties, trying to intimidate people. He sexually assaulted people when he was in the army. It's like, seriously, how does he not have one conviction on his criminal record? Which leads me on to the next infuriating point in this case, because you're never going to guess what happens. Scott is now 38 years old. He's currently unemployed, so he's looking for a job. His life is falling apart. He's carrying on, of course, with his dodgy behaviour. And this is when he decides to try and get a job as a teacher again. And you're never going to believe this, but he got the job. He got a job as a middle school teacher. And I feel like I want to pull my hair out. How is he able to get a job as a teacher again? And this...
Sirens outside. Cat hair.
As he got to this school, he continued with his creepy ways towards the young girls in the school. He would sexualize them, make comments, he would even grope them, he would stalk them. He would give the girls inappropriate nicknames. There was one time when he asked a young female student if she was ticklish, and he started touching her stomach, tickling her, and he would not let her go. At this point as well, Scott developed a new creepy obsession, and that was with cheerleaders. And this was a very creepy obsession. He actually started downloading and viewing pornography on his school computer that involved young teenage cheerleaders. And he would view this pornography whilst he was in school, on his school computer. And this truly was his new creepy obsession. He would fantasize about cheerleaders all the time, young teenage cheerleaders. And I don't have any evidence of this, but if the middle school that he worked at, if that school did have cheerleaders, I can guarantee you he was there watching their practices, watching them whenever they were performing. And it really does just send shivers down your spine. It's just so incredibly creepy. How is this man allowed in a school? So he's watching so much pornography involving cheerleaders. But then he also moves on to another obsession, and that is with yoga. He started viewing a lot of pornography that included yoga in some kind of way. He would search for things like naked yoga, buster yoga, nude hot yoga. He also went onto a pornographic website that only contained porn that had yoga in it and sexualized yoga alone. Also want to point out as well that he's viewing all of this content on the school computer as well, until he was eventually caught viewing all of this, and he was fired as a teacher, thank God, and he would actually never manage to get another job as a teacher again. Finally. And now we get to 2018. Scott is soon about to turn 40 years old, and we are fast approaching the absolutely terrible events of today's case. But over the next few months, Scott's life completely falls apart. He fell into financial trouble. He wasted pretty much all of his money recording his stupid songs. His bank account now had only $30 in it. He stopped looking after himself, and he was pretty much begging his parents constantly to transfer him money. Scott soon became addicted to pornography. He's still viewing a lot of pornography involving yoga and cheerleaders. He was also starting to struggle a lot with his mental health. He was having meetings with psychiatrists and was prescribed anti-anxiety medication. But sadly, at this point, it was too little too late. Scott was already past the point of no return. He had completely given up on life, and he felt like he had nothing else to live for. before. And this is when he started to put his plan into action, which was basically to replicate his idol, Elliot Rodger, and doing what he had fantasized about pretty much his whole life, which was taking revenge out on society, but especially women. And he really did want to replicate Elliot Rodger. He wanted to commit mass murder in the name of incels. So in the summer of 2018, Scott started doing research on where he wanted to carry out his possible mass murder in the name of incels. And he wanted to cause as much damage as possible. And where did he decide that he wanted to carry out a mass shooting? He decided he wanted to go to a cheerleading camp. Now, this obviously all stems from his obsession with cheerleaders, and also because the camp would be filled with loads of young girls, the type of girls that Scott absolutely despised. Over the next few weeks, Scott was still consuming a lot of pornography that involved young teenage cheerleaders, and this was to amp himself up for what he was about to do. It's like he was getting angry watching this pornography whilst still getting off on them at the same time.
Creepy.
He purchased a new Glock pistol and he went to a shooting range to practice firing it. And then on the 30th of July, just 1 week after Scott purchased the new gun, he went to Panama City Beach and tracked down the cheerleading camp that he wanted to target. But for some reason on this day, Scott changed his mind. He decided that he didn't want to go through with this. So he traveled back to his home and he started to come up with a new plan instead. And he spends a few days figuring out what he wanted to do. Sadly, he was still set on committing mass murder and he still wanted to make as much impact as possible. But as he is planning about what to do, he is unraveling more and more. And then randomly, he sends one of his childhood friends a load of his very violent and misogynistic videos and songs that he created. And his friend was so concerned with all of this content, the friend actually contacted the FBI, sent the FBI all of these videos and songs and told the FBI, I think you need to look into this guy. But the FBI ignored it. They actually said that Scott could do what he wanted. He was free to sing about whatever he wanted and say whatever he wanted on video. That was his freedom of speech, which, okay, fair enough, but still it's very concerning, especially because he idolizes Elliot Rodger, and look what Elliot Rodger did. And tragically, the FBI didn't know. Maybe they could have found out if they looked into him, but at that very moment, Scott was right in the middle of planning a deadly mass murder attack. Because between August 15th and August 20th, Scott made a load more very concerning searches online, and he now starts looking into local yoga studios. He starts doing a load of research into the local yoga studios and their classes. He wanted to know all of the details, how busy these classes were. Did only women go to these classes? What type of women go to these classes? What times were the classes on? Scott actually called one particular yoga studio called Hot Yoga Tallahassee, and he wanted to inquire about how busy the classes got. And Scott attempted to make a booking for this yoga class, but every single time he tried to make a booking, they just ignored his calls. However, Scott decided that he was just going to turn up on the day. He booked a hotel room for the beginning of November, and this hotel room was right next to the yoga studio. And then on the 2nd of November 2018, this is tragically the day that Scott put his awful plan into action, because he starts this day off by uploading one final song to his public music sharing platform, which was simply titled Fuck 'em All. This song described Scott's frustrations in life about his failures, including his various jobs, his relationships with women or lack thereof, and just the fact that he hadn't achieved his overall life goals. He uploaded 27 of his other songs to another audio website, which chillingly can still be seen today. And then before he left his hotel room on this fateful day, this is when Scott wrote a note, which would essentially serve as his manifesto. And this note said, "If I can't find one decent female to live with, I will find many indecent females to die with. If they are intent on denying me life, I will have no choice but to deny them life. Their arrogance, indifference, and treachery will finally be exposed and punished. If I can't make a living, I will make a killing. I simply have no choice at this point. It is a moral imperative." And then later on that day, around 5 p.m, Scott left his hotel room with his Glock pistol and a yoga mat. And he made his way to the yoga studio where the class would start at 5:30 p.m. After arriving outside of the studio, Scott just started pacing back and forth for 20 minutes. He went inside and he was repeatedly asking a load of questions to the receptionist. He asked how many people were going to be in the class, and he was disappointed when she said a number that was too low for him. So he asked if there was going to be any more crowded classes, to which the receptionist said no. So then it gets to 5:30 p.m. and the class is about to start, and things would soon end tragically from here. Because as the class began, a group of mostly women started to arrive. There was around 10 or so people in this class, and one of these people was a woman named Nancy Van Vessem. And Nancy was 61 years old. She was a doctor. She worked as the chief medical officer for a large healthcare provider in Florida, and she was described as just the most amazing person. She'd spent her whole life tirelessly working to improve the lives of those under her care, strived to make sure the health costs stayed low for those insured by her company. She also worked to educate medical students, gave back to her community. Nancy was also absolutely adored by her family. She had 3 daughters who she doted over and loved more than anything. And there was thing that Nancy loved to do to help her escape from her busy life, and that was take yoga classes. She went multiple times a week. She always turned up with the biggest smile on her face. And on the 2nd of November 2018, Nancy arrived at her yoga class and she was excited to take part, but she tragically had no idea on the situation she had walked into. Another person that was attending this yoga class was a young woman called Maura Binkley. And Maura was 21 years old. She was actually currently a student at the Florida State University, the very university that Scott had also been a student at. And again, Maura was described as an amazing person. She loved helping other people. That's all she ever wanted to do. She was currently studying German and media studies and was only months away from graduating. She also loved traveling around Europe, was kind and smiled at everyone. She was also said to be extremely intelligent and was a member of the Delta sorority. And just like Nancy, Maura took part in yoga as a form of escape. She was excited about taking part in this yoga class that was happening on this Friday evening, but sadly it would all end in the most horrific of circumstances. Because as the class got underway, it is now 5:35 p.m. Scott went inside, he took his place amongst everybody else in the class, pretended like he was taking part in the class as well. The instructor turned to Scott and told him to take off his shoes and socks and to leave all of his belongings in a cubby at the side of the room. So this is when Scott walked over. He pretended to unwrap his yoga mat before saying to the instructor, quote, "But I have one question." And then Scott pulled out his gun and he started to carry out his deadly attack. Scott now just started firing at random. Chaos broke loose in this yoga studio. The instructor yelled, "What are you doing?" But Scott kept on firing. He was hitting one person after another. And the class had already started. So most of the people in the class were already in a yoga pose. They were in child's pose. So one woman looked up because she could hear everything that was going on and she saw Scott with a gun. But then Scott shot her in the leg. Another woman in the class got up and tried to run away. But then Scott shot her 3 times in the left arm, left leg, and left torso. And it was completely chaotic. All of this was taking place in the matter of seconds. Scott was literally just taking his gun and aiming it anywhere, aiming it at every single person in that class and just firing at random. And within no time at all, Scott had shot and injured 6 people. And this included the 2 women that I have spoken spoken about, Nancy and Moira. They were both in that yoga studio, they were both shot and injured. And Scott had fired as many rounds as he possibly could. But then after firing as many rounds as he could, Scott's gun jammed. And a male member of staff saw this as an opportunity. He ran at Scott and he actually started attacking Scott with a vacuum that he just so happened to pass. He grabbed the vacuum and was just attacking Scott, trying to get the gun off him. And this gave everybody else in the yoga studio a chance to escape. And Scott was actually completely stunned that someone was actually fighting back. And the staff member actually managed to tackle Scott to the floor and apprehend him. But this is when Scott managed to get his gun working again. And Scott took the gun and turned it on himself. And he shot himself in the head. And Scott succeeded in taking his own life. And he would never face justice for what he has done. In the aftermath of this deadly attack, emergency services were obviously on the scene very quickly because lots of people were injured. Multiple people had to be rushed to hospital for their wounds to be treated. And tragically, not everyone could be saved. There were 2 people who would very sadly pass away from their injuries. And this was 61-year-old Dr. Nancy Van Vessem and 21-year-old Moira Binkley, which just absolutely breaks my heart that these 2 women, they just went to a yoga class. They just innocently went to a yoga class. They were both so happy to be there. They were both in a safe place, a place that they loved to unwind and relax, and their lives were taken from them. And in the aftermath of this attack, an investigation was carried out. Lots of research was done into Scott's background to try and figure out why and how he had managed to do this, and could it have been prevented? And obviously it was soon discovered that there was a load of red flags in Scott's background, and he should have been picked up on the system a lot sooner. And this caused a lot of upset and anger from the public that this attack could have been prevented. And of course, because Scott had killed himself, there was no trial. Scott will never face justice. But in the aftermath of this devastation, the community came together to honour the 2 victims. Because on the morning after this deadly attack, more than 60 people came out on a street in Tallahassee. They laid down their yoga mats in the street and they gave a very touching tribute to the 2 women's lives that were tragically taken. And over 5 years after this attack, the yoga studio still remains open to this very day in memory of what happened there. And also in the years since, a foundation has been set up in Moira's name by her parents named Moira's Voice, which does research and raise funds with focus on preventing violence driven by hate, and in particular protecting women and girls. And I just wish Moira's family all the best. I wish Nancy's family all the best. My heart truly goes out to them because their loved ones should still be here to this very day. And I do just want to end this video remembering the 2 victims of today's case. Dr. Nancy Van Vessem was described as a kind, beautiful and incredibly caring person. She loved her job in healthcare. She tirelessly went out of her way to improve the lives of those she was looking after. But most of all, she loved her family more than anything. And she is incredibly missed by them all. She was taken far, far too soon. She was just 61 years old. Moira Binkley was described as having a kind and gentle spirit, was endlessly loyal, fearless and proudly devoted to those who she loved. She was an incredible student with a bright future ahead of her. All she wanted to do was help others and put a smile on their face. She loved her family more than anything, and she is incredibly missed by those around her. She was taken far, far, far too soon. She was only 21 years old. So that brings us to the end of today's incredibly heartbreaking case. As always, let me know your thoughts, theories and opinions, and don't forget to leave me your case suggestions in the comments down below because I always want to know what you want to hear next. Thank you again to June's Journey for sponsoring today's video, and I'll see you all in my next one. Bye.
I love you, babies. Watch a few minutes of this. This is that chapter.
Go to what?
No. I think I might wait till tomorrow for the rest.
Cherokee County, north of Atlanta, Georgia, not the font or the country, the state. That is where we are today. It's part of the greater metro Atlanta area, and it's a pretty place, growing all the time. These days, you bet your bottom dollar, there's about 300,000 people living there, and sure, why not? It's a safe community, parks, nature, murder, all the hits, all the classics. It's just freaking delicious, guys. It's desirable. I don't know what else you want from me. I don't know what else you want me to tell you about it. Move there, bring your fun books. Cherokee County, check please. In an area dotted with country clubs and golf clubs lies a little dead-end road, name of Purcell Lane. And there, oh my, a mystery was unfolding. 2155 Purcell Lane, big house, 4-bed, 3.5 bath, surrounded by woods and rolling fields. A 10-acre estate, you bet your hind legs. Gorgeous, I say, without sarcasm for a change, and very unmurderous. I do say so with sarcasm. It all began on the 4th of July, 2018. This home was the abode of the Farris family. And the thing was, no one could quite put their finger on where the patriarch of the family was that day. His name was Gary Farris, though he often went by his nickname of Big Daddy, which is clearly copying my nickname, but I'll allow it just this once. The Farris family were a tight-knit one, always staying close and connected to this little area. The farm, they called it. The Farris family was made up of Gary and Melody, happily married for 4 decades, and their 4 children. You got your Chris, you got your Scott, your Emily, and your Amanda. They all had their own lives, though Scott, a military veteran, he stayed closest to his parents. He still lived on the farm. He took care of it, the horses and chickens and such. But each of them would return frequently, themselves, their partners, their children. It was a place for the birthdays, the celebrations, the grandkids would be there. An idyllic, happy place. It all came from Gary, Big Daddy. He was a prominent lawman from Atlanta. In 2018, he was 58 years of age, a Georgia boy in and around. He was a partner at Burr and Foreman. He founded the company's Atlanta office in 1995, and he had been practicing the law since 1988. He was pretty good, though, a prestigious fella. He had the honors and awards to his name. And he was also he's a pretty big name. He was also a pretty big guy for you. He was 6'5", a good 300 pounds. He'd be drinking Mountain Dew by the cartonload, puffing darts like there was no tomorrow. And he was well loved by his family. He did it all for them. So when no one could find him on this July 4th, it was concerning. He had been, on the farm. He'd been seen there the day before, July 3rd, by 2 of his sons, Scott, who lived there, and Chris, who'd been around with his own kids. He'd been seen, he was fine. He was doing grand. He then just vanished off the property. His wife, Melody, knew not where he was. Come the 4th of July, she realized she hadn't seen him all day. Scott hasn't. Nobody has seen him at all come that July 4th. Now, it was a large property. I'm sure he's around, but he was no answering on the phone, and his car was still there. When that day ended, and the next one began, July 5th, and still no one could find him, things became worrisome. All the kids came back to the farm and started looking around for him, hoping to find him. I mean, the fear was, he was a big guy. He didn't, live the most healthiest of lifestyles, so people were thinking maybe he'd been out there in the woods doing something. Maybe he had a heart attack. The old ticker done give out. And he's lying there in the woods. He needs help. Nobody knew. Now, his son, Chris, and Scott, they did remember, though, that when they had last spoken to him, when they had last seen him, when anybody had last seen him, July 3rd, he did say he was going to go out and do a burn pile. And he was mad for the burn piles. He couldn't get enough of them, honestly. He would go out into the woods, branches, any old shite he could find. Light that sucker up. Tell you that, Gary Farris would say. Nothing better. And so, searching around the property, they did eventually find that burn pile he said he was going to do, and he had did it. The burn pile was, burnt, but there was no sign or, clues of him there. Until his sons, Scott and Chris, looked a little closer at the burn pile, and, their father's last known activity from at least the day before, and they realized some of the rocks in the burn pile, they weren't rocks at all. They appeared to be bones. The fire must have been intense to burn a human body like that, but it appeared they'd finally found their missing Big Daddy. Police arrived to investigate and try to ascertain what exactly happened out here. How and why. Had Gary Big Daddy Farce gone to trip and fall school and tumbled into his own blaze? Or not? And sure, you know, wouldn't Melody say to the police when she was questioned, she's been having a few dizzy spells over the last few months.
He takes his blood pressure medicine with a Mountain Dew and he's an anti-cigarette with cigarette.
He was at the hospital in April, but he's been having these spells and they get more and more frequent.
Perhaps he fell at the worst possible time.
The residents at the location located some human remains on the property.
Frightening, deputies say Thursday on this picturesque property in the hills of Cherokee County. The owners made a gruesome discovery. Someone's remains to the rear of the residence. Investigators don't know if they belong to a man or a woman.
An extreme amount of wooded areas on the property, so it's just a matter of making sure we cover every inch of land for any kind of evidence.
And soon, suspicion would fall on each of them, going from one farce to the other, like some kind of wheel, like a wheel, like one of those wheels that have at amusement parks. What are they called? Anyways, all the farces were questioned, and if you can believe it, each farce had a secret of their own. Any thoughts of it being some sort of a freak accident, though, where he did a somersaulted into his own burn pile? Any thoughts to that were swiftly kicked up the arse when they found a few indications that hadn't happened. I mean, if you're going to fall into the fire, it's unlikely the entirety of your body will be consumed. And not only that, a bullet was found in Gary's ribcage. And it's pretty hard to fall on a bullet so much it gets lodged in your ribs. But who shot him dead?
The path to a college degree is more affordable than you think. With SeraFae Learning, you can take real college-level courses that are designed to transfer. Fully online for just $99 a month. Start your free trial, no credit card required. SeraFae Learning, built for you.
It could have been any of his family members. He was always happy to hand out money he earned. Some likely wanted it very badly and weren't asking. Melody, the last person to see him and his wife, was questioned first.
So you were the last one to see Gary alive on Tuesday night? Right. Did you hear any gunshot?
No, but there was a ton of, like fireworks and firecrackers and all kinds of stuff going on. Do I need to get an attorney?
That's up to you. It's for your rights.
I would never, ever hurt you. Never.
The unfortunate thing is somebody did, and we don't know who did, and it's our job to determine that. You know, you're the spouse. We have to do everything in our power to rule you out or to rule you in, you know?
I'm sure you know yourself. If you can believe it, wouldn't Gary have a good old... $2 million. I mean, Gary and Melody, they didn't even sleep in the same bed. Never mind the same bedroom. They didn't even sleep on the same floor of the house at the farm. She slept on like the second floor. He slept on the first floor. Then their son Scott, he slept in an apartment above the garage. So was it Melody? She had a lot to gain. But Melody was quick to say that both her sons, Chris and Scott, had been having issues with Gary lately.
So given the history of, just talking to everybody, it doesn't seem like he was depressed and suicidal. He's never had any violent tendencies. The location of where the wound was received on the body, from the evidence that we can tell, is not a typical self-inflicted place to shoot yourself.
Where was it?
It was in his ribcage. That's the one that we have found so far. So he has no enemies or friends according to anybody,
He's a lawyer.
right? A corporate real estate lawyer, so
Yeah, he's a corporate real estate lawyer.
there's nothing missing from the property that anybody's reported.
No.
You weren't harmed, you were in the house.
Yeah.
There's just you and him there, Scott possibly out in the barn, so you don't know how he received at least one gunshot wound.
No, I do not.
Any feuds with the boys lately?
Scott, he and Scott would get into it pretty heavily. I mean, you know, when they come to blows just over things because Gary was so anal about everything. I mean, Scott's hot. I mean, he's hot tempered. There is no doubt. He's very hot tempered. I mean, he left, and I don't know where he was. I mean, I don't. I mean, Chris, we've had our rounds with him of stealing money. I mean, to the point of Chris is just, you know, we didn't know what to do with him.
Here comes the bus. Whoops, there you go. She was really hanging her sons out to dry. Nice. Scott was quick-tempered as all shit. Chris, he stole from Gary, according to Melody.
Let me ask you a question. What do you guys think happened?
See, this is where I'm torn. I want to tell you what I know. I want to tell you what I think.
My dad never said anything negative to me about my mother, except for just like her going out and spending so much money on stuff like that. No, but my mother, on the other hand, man, I can't tell you how many times I've heard her say, I can't wait till the day I don't have to live with him. I wish he would just have a heart attack and die.
On the surface, it seemed like the family were close, but underneath, they were all only close because Gary was the source of that sweet, sweet cheddar cheese, and every single member of the family was spooning off Big Daddy in some way or another. Gary was shot, likely shot dead, then thrown onto the burn pile that was out like in the nearby woods. However, Melody would say she didn't hear any gunshots that night, like from, you know, late on the 3rd to early on the 4th. However, it's the 4th of July. She would say there was fireworks going off like all day and all night. One of them could have been a gunshot, but she didn't hear nothing. So out in the woods, a gunshot may go unnoticed on that particular night. However, as this was a murder, the house was searched. And they quickly determined that the gunshot that likely ended Gary Forrest's life, it didn't come from out in the woods, out at the burn pile. The gunshot came from inside the house. Drops of blood were found on the stairs. Luminol lit it up, and a spent bullet on the floor was found outside of Gary's bedroom. From the blood, it seemed like Gary had been shot twice, and then he had tried to flee before succumbing to his injuries. Now, Melody, of course, was saying she hadn't heard any gunshots that night. Out in the woods, you would probably notice if a gunshots, like 1 or 2 gunshots was coming from directly below you. Chances are you'd notice that. Both Chris and Scott said they saw their dad on July 3rd, that late afternoon, and he was fine. Melody said herself and Gary had dinner at about 6 p.m, then they went their separate ways as they lived on separate floors of the house. And that was it. The fire was already lit that night, by the night of July 3rd.
Came back home, and that's when, when I came home, I saw the fire going in the woods, and, didn't think of anything of it.
On July 3rd, Gary speaks with his sons, Chris and Scott, who both were out and about, says he's going to light a burn pile. He does so. He lights that burn pile. Then he has dinner with his wife, Melody, and then he's never seen again till he's discovered 2 days later inside the burn pile with 2 bullet holes. And, sort of interestingly, his own CPAP machine revealed that it hadn't been used the night of the 3rd. So likely, he had been killed that night. And sure, the only people in the house that night were his wife, Melody, and his son, Scott, who lived there. So likely one of those 2 murdered him dead. But if Gary had been shot dead in the house by his wife, Melody, I mean, could little old Melody really drag the 300-pound, 6'5" Gary out into the woods by herself, out like to the distant woods to the burn pile? She was only itty-bitty.
Just realistically speaking, if someone of a 5'4", 130-pound stature was able to transport somebody that's 6'5" and 208 pounds.
Right. I mean,
we figure
somebody had to have helped. That person needs to be found as much as anybody else.
Right.
Okay.
Police, they also found ammo in Scott's apartment on the property, same caliber as the murder weapon. That's weird, same caliber as the murder weapon, but it wasn't the same bullets, it was just of the same type. Scott also had the strange story about finding a firearm a couple of months previous that was of the same caliber as the murder weapon. He just sort of like stumbled across it in the basement of the house. He had never seen it before, didn't know how it got there, but now it's gone. He went looking for it after they found his dad, but before they knew his dad had been shot, and he said what's going on here? And also, when Gary disappeared, but before he was found in the burn pile, didn't Scott go out and check the trail cams in the woods around their house, just to see maybe one of these cameras caught where Gary was and, you know, give him a clue as to where he could be? Scott said he checked the footage that was on the trail cameras, didn't see anything, just squirrels, deers, that kind of shit. And then he deleted all the footage because he's not on it. Why would you delete the footage?
I went down there and checked the trail cam, and there's just a couple squirrels and a couple raccoons, and that was it. I just deleted everything.
It was worrisome. Like with Gary dead, everything went to Melody, but Melody was insinuating that her kids, her own flesh and blood, especially Scott, who still lived with them, that they were so greedy that she was worried she might be up next for a meet and greet with the Grim Reaper. Melody was saying it was her sons, Scott in particular, that likely murdered Gary. And they were saying the complete opposite, that Melody killed their dad.
I don't know if my mom did this or not. I don't know. But all the she's done for the last 10 years has really added up to, like, I mean, what else are we going to look at?
Only two people were on the property. It had to be Melody or Scott. And it does seem, though, unbelievable that Melody wouldn't have noticed the gunshots that were on the floor directly below her. I mean, check this out. Police even did noise tests to see if the gunshot could be heard outside the house, how far the sound would travel. It traveled.
2, 1, shots fired, shots fired.
All units stand by. 3, 2.
But, and it's a big booty, would she have been big enough to drag her plus-sized husband out of the house to the burn pile? Scott, ex-military, would have been big and strong enough to drag his dad into the woods. The bullets were found in Scott's room. They weren't the same as the murder bullets, but they were of the same caliber, and this is just across the way. Scott also deleted the trail cam footage, and he said he had seen the mystery gun that now, for some reason, couldn't be found.
How does little Melody move? Big old beard.
I love my father more than anything. He was my role model. She was the one who I didn't trust.
If you came home and walked up on it, she threatened you.
I would have been calling on the second that I would have found out about it.
That's what happened. She killed him with your gun and you're scared. We need to know. If you came home in the middle of it and she said, "You're not getting any of this damn money I'm about to inherit if you don't keep your mouth shut," we have to know.
No, I swear on my father's grave, life, whatever you want to say, I didn't have anything to do with this. At all.
They all had a real good motive. Money. Lots and lots and lots of money, as Gary Farris, very successful attorney in Atlanta. Melody, she didn't work. She had been a stay-at-home mom all her life, and now that her kids were grown, she was just stay at home. And his son Scott, who lived in the property, he didn't have a job either. He was ex-military, and now he was just in charge of like the animals, the pets, the chickens, the horses, taking care of the property. So he didn't actually have like a job. Now the murder weapon. 99% of the time you find the murder weapon, you'll find the murderer. So who knows what about that?
There's a firearm missing from the house. So we need a list of everything of a pistol caliber that anybody has ever seen.
We have information that there was probably about a month and a half ago that there was another firearm found in your house. So Scott is the one that told us about a month and a half ago that he saw the pistol in the basement. The AT&T guy was there to do some repairs or to do something. He was trying to find the remote. Found the pistol. That pistol's not there anymore. Where it was. Didn't know anything about the pistol. So you...
Well, a name came up. Someone who had a gun like that. The murder weapon. The one Scott had seen in the house yonks gone by. His name was Ted. Neighbor and family friend Ted. Now the police did follow up with this Ted fella, and the murder weapon wasn't to be found. But that lead of Ted gave the police another lead entirely. See, Ted, he lived by. He was close, family friend, and he'd even been married at one point to Gary Farris's sister. That's how tight they had been. Once. Then Ted started seeing someone else. Because basically Ted went to Gary and said, you know what, I've had your sister, now I'll have your wife. Ted and Melody started having an affair. Gary learns about this. Melody, of course, denies it. Gary starts putting trackers on her car. Melody then actually moved out for a time, for months, living with Ted before coming back to Gary saying, oh, you know, it's all good. It's all good here, right? We're cool. Melody came back because Gary started filing for a divorce. Man, I wonder if him being really, really rich had anything to do with her coming back. To the point where when Melody was going to be, served the divorce papers, she hid in the bathroom. She hid in a restroom so she couldn't be served with the divorce notice. That was actually when they bought this property, the farm, as a sort of fresh start for both Gary and Melody. But Gary never forgot it. He never forgave it, and he watched everything she did. He especially didn't want her spending money on the man she was having an affair with. Now that she was back with him, Melody was being watched, and she was on an allowance.
I understand that at some point there was an allegation of an affair.
But, I mean, that's been our entire marriage.
Your entire marriage?
Yeah.
He has always accused you?
Always accused me.
Why is that?
His dad did the same thing to his mother, but that was his control thing, you know.
I mean, you might think that sounds harsh and sort of paranoid, but Gary had good reason. Because she was still having affairs.
Are you currently in an affair with anyone?
Yeah.
Is anyone pursuing you?
Yeah.
There's no jealous boyfriends?
Yeah. When the investigation began, that was like one of the first questions police asked Melody. Hey, having an affair, you know, motive 9 out of 10 times. She denied it, said, Then they searched her, they did a wallet biopsy. They found in Melody's wallet a credit card. The name on it was Roy Barton. She was lying. She was actually having another affair. And of course, she had a secret phone she used to talk to this Roy with too. And she was on the phone with him all the time. So police went and they questioned this Roy guy that Melody was having an affair with. And his alibi checked out. He, wasn't involved in the murder of Gary Farris. But in one of those sort of, just one more thing type moments, when police were questioning Roy about his affair with Melody and if it could be linked to her husband's death, he said, she'd said this.
Probably the last minute of the last conversation, she said, Gary is in the burn pile. No, she said, he is in the burn pile. And I said, what? And she said, he's in the burn pile. And I said, do not say another word and do not tell me anything. I do not need to know.
That call happened on the evening of July 3rd, which is shortly after Gary Farris disappeared forever. Certainly before he was actually found in the burn pile. How did she know he was there? Suspicion was mounting, if you can believe that. And remember those dizzy spells that Gary was having when he was going to slip and fall school? That was a little suspicious too. People started to think that maybe Melody was behind those dizzy spells Gary was having. That she was poisoning him. Here, gobble this. And when I say people started to think Melody was behind this, people means Gary. As in Gary started to think that Melody was poisoning him. Gary even confided in 2 of his kids when he was in the hospital, likely put there by being poisoned. And the doctors couldn't find out what was wrong with Gary, why he was, collapsing and all that kind of thing. Gary said to his kids, listen, either your mom is a real shit cook or she's trying to kill me. I haven't decided yet. Gary even recorded this video and sent it to his kids right after he ate some of her food once again. And this video was taken July 2nd, 2018, the day before he was shot dead.
Leave the plate. Forget to take it upstairs. Minor temper tantrum. Was I had something tonight and it was 6 for me, so I'm sure I'll be feeling poorly here in minutes. But we'll see.
It all led back to Melody. A Melody who was having an affair, who was being watched at all times, and who wanted money that instead was going to their kids. And it takes a special kind of sick to blame your own kids for killing their father. But two main things were going against this line of inquiry. One, they didn't have the murder weapon. They couldn't find it. Two, was that they still couldn't explain how little old Melody could bring Big Daddy Gary. How could she wouldn't have been strong enough to bring his body from the house to the burn pile. Actually, wait, if they did actually figure out that second part. Sorry.
I just found it very, very odd for that tractor to be parked down there. I know my dad wouldn't have just left it there. I mean, the only time he would have left that tractor there is if it was stuck.
Both Chris and Scott would tell the police that the morning they were searching for their dad, the 4th of July, they noticed that the family tractor was parked weird. Tracks were also found near the burn pit. Melody Farris was ultimately arrested in 2019 and charged with Gary's murder.
Melody Farris went before a judge today. She is charged with killing attorney Gary Farris 1 year after his remains were found on the family's property. Detectives say she tried to hide the alleged shooting by burning his body afterwards. Today in court, Melody Farris was given brief instructions about her charges and upcoming trial.
She didn't go on trial until 2024.
When you see the opportunity, the means, and the motive, money, sex, new life, the truth, as sad as it is, as hard as it is that the defendant murdered and desecrated her own husband.
3 of her kids testified against her. However, her defense continually said it was Scott. Everything they think she did, he actually did. He was framing Melody. He was a mooch. Kill dad, frame mom, you get a nice taste of the pie. All the evidence the prosecution had against Melody was completely circumstantial, and there was a lot of unanswered questions in this case. Melody had the means, motive, and opportunity. She lied about the affairs, said some suspicious things, but there was no smoking gun. Hell, there was no gun, full stop.
13 minutes after law enforcement arrives, Scott Farris is already blaming his mother. He knows nothing. They're not even sure if there is a body on the burn pile. They're not even sure it's Gary. He's already planting the seeds of blaming his mother. But the most important thing is just in that few minutes of getting there, he's already talking about guns being missing, that he's the only person that is seen. Then he goes out looking. You're also most likely going to be seeing, there's a trail camera. You're going to see that coming up to that camera, for some reason, and I don't think we'll ever get a straight answer, we don't know why those photographs got deleted.
But again, one more thing came out during the trial. A cousin of Melody's, name of Martha Jane, came forward and said she was missing a .38, the same caliber as the murder weapon. She had actually been watching her cousin's trial on live stream. When it came up during testimony, that's when she realized her own .38 was missing. Melody had a key to where the gun was kept. Melody may have stolen the gun from her cousin months before the murder, and that was the one Scott had seen in the house, but now couldn't find. Now, that gun was never found. It's never been found. But that showed Miss Martha Jane suddenly coming forward in the middle of the trial showed that Melody did have access to a .38, which was the gun used to shoot dead Gary Farris. At the end of the trial, Melody Farris was found guilty of the murder of Gary Farris. At her sentencing, she went on for 20 minutes, continuing to say she was innocent and that her son, Scott, had murdered Big Daddy.
I've written this so that I can get the door.
Okay.
Not only did I not do this, I know who did. I know Scott killed his father.
Crazy, man. I'm gonna go tuck my little kitty cat into bed. This kitty cat, please remember to pray. Do no harm. Take no crap. And I'll catch you in the next one. Blessings and namaste.